Hi everyone, so today we are going to focus on composite functions. And last week we looked at composite functions and you all had to work out values such as fg of 3, gf of 7. Today however we are focusing on the actual expression which represents a composite function such as fg of x. Now this will all make sense once we get into the example. In our example, we are given two functions, a function for f of x, 3x subtract 7, and a function which represents g of x, 2x plus 5. You are asked to determine an expression to represent first fg of x and then gf of x. Now an expression is not a value, it is written just like how these functions are written up above, and we're going to get an expression to represent fg of x such that any value we want to find, fg of 3, fg of 8, fg of 9, we can plug into this new function which represents our composite function, fg of x. So in order to start the sum, we start with the outer function. Last week we started with the function closer to the value. However, we're going to start with the outer function, which in this case is f. So we're going to write down f of x, and f of x represents 3x plus 7. Sorry, 3x subtract 7. And we want to find fg of x. So it comes as though the x is being replaced with the g of x function. So everywhere we have x above, we are going to replace it with g of x. So instead of 3x, it becomes 3 by g of x, subtract 7. Now, fg of x is equal to 3 by the entire expression which represents g of x. And g of x is represented by 2x plus 5. So that's 3 all multiplied by 2x plus 5, then subtract 7. Now 3 by 2x, remember we're multiplying, 3 2s are 6, that's 6x, and 3 by 5, that's 15. Then subtract 7. So 15 subtract 7 gives us 8. And fg of x is equal to 6x plus 8. Now this function here represents a composite function fg of x. If we wanted to find fg of 2, 3, 4, we simply plug it into this instead of working each function separately. Let's look at gf of x now. Once again, we start with the outer function. In this case, it's g. So we write down a function for g of x, which is equal to 2x plus 5. And we are going to find g f of x. So now it looks as though x is being replaced with f of x. So everywhere we have x in our function g, we are going to replace it with f of x. So instead of 2x, that's 2 by f of x plus 5. And f of x, of course, represents the entire expression 3x subtract 7. So that's 2 by 3x subtract 7. Don't forget the plus 5. So g f of x becomes 2 by 3x, that's 6x, 2 by 7, but it's negative 7, so that's negative 14, and then we have to add 5. Gf of x simplifies to be 6x, and plug in negative 14 plus 5 into your calculator, you'd get 6x subtract 9. And this function here represents a composite function, gf of x.